deep impacts and imports. The performance actually is what you bring to the world. What is the world sees you as? What you actually turn around in terms of results, or what is the outcome of what you do, right? But and many times actually people make this well-informed mistake of trying to change behaviors, trying to change its external outcomes on that level itself. But if we actually go deeper into neuroscience, any kind of results which actually we as human individuals produce, they are somewhere connected to the behaviors that we bring in. Those behaviors have a deep insight, a deep connection with the feelings and the emotions that we have. And those emotions are deeply, deeply rooted into our thinking systems, right? For example, you're in an office situation or you're in a classroom situation, and you're not able to perform well, in your academics, or perform well in your corporate career. And that could be deeply rooted into what's going on in your personal life, and not necessarily with your competence, right? Like Dr. Vidya was mentioning about relationships, was mentioning about emotional intelligence, that is just so crucial in order to have the right kind of performance, the right kind of results. So this is something we need to really deeply think about. It's like we always want to change. And please say a yes in the YouTube chat box, because I'm seeing that parallelly. Please say a yes if you have ever tried to change something in your life. You were successful for a day or two or a week, and then you plummeted back to your old behaviors. Say a yes in the chat box if this has ever happened to you, that you wanted to change a certain kind of behavior in yourself. Maybe you were binge watching at night 12 or no, at midnight 12 on Netflix. You already had a plan that you wanted to go and jog in the next day morning, but you catch yourself binge watching at Netflix all night long, and not able to keep with the commitment. If this has ever happened to you, that you actually wanted to make a shift, make a change, but you were not able to, say a yes in the chat box. And I can see some very, very honest people saying a yes. Thank you, Roman. Thank you, Parishad. Thank you very much for all this energy flowing. Right? We often try to change our behaviors. Thank you so much, Prahlad. Thank you, Husna. Thank you, Mithun. Thank you so much. Deeply appreciate that. Why does that happen? And you know what happens when we are not able to change our external behaviors? We even actually become self-deprecating. We start demonizing ourselves. We start thinking that I'm not good enough. Probably I'm not worthy enough. I'm not probably enough to actually make that change or shift. But what is important, my dear friends, is we don't rise to the level of our goals. We fall to the level of our systems. We don't rise to the level of our aspirations. We actually fall to the level of our belief system. We actually fall to the levels of our thinking. So unless you actually match these two up, your aspirations and your thinking, how many times we have actually done that, right? We had a lofty goal to pursue. We had a fabulous plan in place, and we didn't even move a bit. Why does that happen? Why does it happen time and again and again and again and again and again? You wanted to crack an exam, you wanted a promotion, you wanted a new job, you knew exactly what needs to be done, but still you did not take a step further, right? Like Dr. Vidya was mentioning there, that the kind of conversation you have with yourself is how you relate to yourself, right? And unless our thinking patterns actually change, unless that rock bottom things actually change, we can't bring in sustainable change on our levels of behavior and productivity and performance. Is all about what do I bring on the table. Thank you all so very much. I'm just loving this wonderful energy flowing. Gansham, Jean, Sadia, Sarah, thank you all so very much, right? We all have areas in our life where we want to change, but we are not able to, probably because we're just trying to nudge and push the top of the iceberg and not realizing what's there below. Our thinking, our emotions, our behaviors actually drive our performance. It is so very crucial. And these emotions are so deep at times that we don't even get a hang on it. We just feel I'm frustrated, I'm anxiety ridden. And we generally have a conception of overgeneralizing our emotions also. You might be frustrated and irritated, but people just tag you as being angry person. You might be actually feeling lonely and isolated and dejected, and people might just tag you as arrogant. The world around you is pretty hostile. You need to actually take care of yourself. If you need to really produce the results that you really want, if you really want to be what you want to be, you need to actually take a lot of care, and especially beginning with how you think with yourself. So many times, right? A single setback happens, a single failure happens in our life, and we often start telling ourselves, I'm a failure, I'm not good enough. By the time you are 14, you would have heard this phrase that you won't be able to do it probably a million times. Probably a million times. This actually gets ingrained in our system. Every time I pick up a daunting task, I tell myself, it's not for you. You won't be able to do it. It's not for you. You won't be able to do it. And if you actually fall into the trap of failure, then gone. That becomes a repeated script that keeps running in our head. So if we want to actually optimize performance, if we want to actually move forward, first and foremost, my dear friends, we have to think about thinking. Let me give you a glimpse of all of you who are in the corporate world, or all of you who are studying right now. Please write down your favorite company that you want to work in. Please write down in the chat box as we are moving across this conversation in YouTube. All of you who are working, or those who are in your still student life, write down where you really want to work. And now, please, I'll tell you what exactly goes in the modern corporate world, right? What exactly, makes you admirable by these people. If you look back 100 years back, probably the job that you would do is probably related with physical labor, right? Physical labor is what actually you get paid for. You are paid to actually manage people. You are paid to manage their hard work and everything else. During the Industrial Revolution, a lot of things became mechanized, and therefore a lot of work was decided about how efficiently you would work with processes. But in the 20th 21st century, most of us, oh, thank you so much, I'm seeing a lot of energy flowing, or somebody saying you want to work in nimhans. Well, best of luck, Patnaik. The idea is, in the current world today, most of us, we would get paid for thinking. You will actually become a knowledge worker. And for a knowledge worker, for a person who's working with knowledge and information and that kind of explosion, you need to be very, very good, clear about how you think. Because if you haven't worked on that particular aspect, results, performance, productivity is not going to flow with it. So thank you. I can see a lot of, okay, somebody wants to be a social worker. Somebody wants to be a student worker, working student. Thank you also very much. Can we go to the next slide? Now, the question that we need to ask is, what affects our thinking? What really affects our thinking and hence our performance? And it's our belief system. It's what we have grown up understanding. It's a conglomeration. It's an amalgamation of everything that we came across as a child, right? Every time you try to every time you try to do something as a child and someone said no to you, it won't be possible for you. That becomes a script for us. Some of us are able to revolt against it. Some of us just embrace it helplessly. And that becomes our belief system. Maybe I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. I can't do this. And my dear friends, perception is reality. What you perceive in the world outside is what is going to actually happen by far, right? So our belief system has to be very, very outgoing. I'll talk about 4 kinds of belief systems here, which actually drives people, which drives performance, which drives inspiration, which drives contribution. Why is it? Why is it that so many software professionals get laid off every year, but not everyone becomes Brian Acton and creates a WhatsApp and sells it for $17 billion to Facebook? So many authors get rejected every year, every day practically, but not everyone becomes J.K. Rowling. What is different with these people? What is different with these people? And my dear friends, mark my words. If you are out for a great goal in your life, be willing to face failures after failures before you even move an inch. Great goals require great preparations, and no great man had an easy past. None, not even one. If you think of any role model that inspires you, please write that in the chat box. The role model that inspires you, look at their lives. It wasn't an easy trek. It wasn't an easy go. It was difficult, challenging, daunting, and that's the reason why they remembered and why they grew up, right? And what is it that is going to actually make you stand in front of failures? You stand in front of doubting thought processes. How will you stand? Forget about standing against the world. If you can't stand for yourself, you won't be able to stand against the world, right? If you don't stand for something, you won't be able to stand out, my dear friends. So if you want to be in that kind of a space, we want to make that kind of impact, Our belief system have to be extremely clear about what we really want in life, what really inspires us,